Welcome back to my channel. I'm in the barn. Junie is out of her stall. Come on, June. You need to go back to your stall. Let's go. She keeps getting out of her stall. She's learned how to unlock her stall, even though we've done everything to try to keep her in the stall. Our new latches are just nothing compared to what she can do. So she's back in her stall. Good girl. Okay, now that she's back in there, guys, we have something to talk about. And it's kind of a serious topic, but I no longer have chickens. A fox ate my whole flock, except actually one chicken. That chicken right there. But aside from that, that's my only chicken I have left. We've had a predator problem before in the past where we've had coyotes. I don't really think I've ever had raccoons. I've had a snake, a possum in the coop, and our biggest threat to date, which has cleared out my whole flock, is a fox, aside from that chicken right there. So I kind of have the whole thing filmed a bit because of the camera in the barn that sits right there. So I have some footage of the fox, and what I mean by some is just from that way to here. Everything that happens in front of the barn, I don't technically have, but after this incident, I am definitely getting more cameras to face out front of the barn because I think I would have been able to maybe nip this in the butt a lot sooner, but who knows? I don't know. It's a really hard thing with nature because, you know, I try to reason that the fox is just hungry and trying to eat, but when you kill all my chickens and for sport because he didn't eat them all, then it's frustrating because basically that just means that he's not just killing because he's hungry, he's killing for sport. And that's honestly what he did. So let me just kind of run through it with you guys, explain everything, and kind of tell you what we do next in this situation. Because I obviously like having chickens, but I'm obviously not going to continue to have chickens that are just going to become prey for all the predators that we have. So I have a plan. We'll talk about the plan at the end of this video, and I'll kind of tell you what the life of one chicken is like right now as well. But let's start with what happened to the chickens. So to start off, before we even knew that we had a fox issue, is basically when all of my chickens pretty much got killed. I didn't have like that much of a warning sign. And the weirdest thing is with this fox is that he did not kill them all during the night like a normal fox would do. So based on my camera footage from my Ring camera, around 6:45ish, the fox comes into my barn. He comes in from the back of the barn and he walks straight through it over to where our hay is. So our hay is kind of where the chickens like to hang out. They lay their eggs in there, they sleep over here, and this is what they did because they no longer wanted to stay in their coop that's across from the barn. So my chickens realistically have not been in their coop, like living technically in their coop, for a really long time. We would keep their feed and water in there for them to go in and get it, but they never stayed in the coop at night. They always just started to roost in the barn. If you guys have been kind of following the series of my chickens and how they've been moved into the barn, you would know that we did try to keep my chickens all cooped up in the coop for 2 weeks straight without letting them out to try to reset them, and it didn't work. They just came right back to the barn, and this is where they ended up staying. And we really hadn't had no issues in the entire 10 months or longer that they've been living in my barn. We had the least amount of casualties we've ever had with having chickens. No predators were able to get them because I have so many barn cats in here that roam through. I have horses that a lot of predators don't really like to come around necessarily, and I have a donkey. So we had the least amount of chicken casualties in the last 10, 12 months when the chickens actually lived in my barn up until the other day. So like I said, I see from the footage that the fox came in from the back of the barn, came up through, and this was the extent of where I saw him. But I didn't see that footage until after I saw that all my chickens were killed, besides, actually at the time, 3 chickens. It was the chicken that you guys just saw and then 2 other chickens. The realization of that my chickens got killed is Mike came out to the barn like he normally would. It was 7:45. Didn't see anything, so knowing from the footage now that the fox was just in the barn about 30 minutes prior, but he was in the barn. He went and he got his skid steer where it always stays, which is in front of the barn, backed his skid steer out of our property, and then he went over to my sister's, which is across the street. So this is where Mike's skid steer is always parked, and this right here is where all of my chickens were just killed. So like I said, when he came out to the barn at 7:45, he backed up his skid steer. None of the chickens were killed. They were all walking around. And then I come out at 9 a.m. to walk out to the barn and just see what's going on. And that's when I was met with a chicken graveyard, right where I showed you where Mike's skid steer stays. So the fox definitely did not kill the chickens when he was first in this barn, because that would have happened at like 6:45. But Mike actually came out here 7:45 and he got his skid steer and he backed his skid steer up. And the graveyard of chickens, like I'm saying, it literally looked like a graveyard of chickens, was where he backed his skid steer up physically. He backed it up out and left the property. So before he got back, around 9, I came out. At this time, there was only 3 chickens left, and it was, like I said, the chicken back there, another black chicken, and a little white chicken. And I was still not finding some of the like dead carcasses, I guess I should say, for other chickens that I was missing. So there was still hope that maybe there was some other chickens out there, like Petro and a silver lace Wyandotte and a couple other ones that I knew that I had, that I was hoping that maybe they were just in hiding, but they never showed back up. So he obviously killed them as well. And maybe they ran a little bit farther, because still to this day, I haven't really been able to find their bodies. So not really sure. And it's been a little bit now, at least a week since the first time this had happened. To my knowledge, foxes don't typically like hunt during the daylight hours. And since he was actually here at 6:45 in the night hours, like when it was technically not daylight out yet, he had opportunity then, but he waited and he actually killed my chickens in broad daylight. Super weird. So at that point, I didn't know if this fox was like sickly or something like that. I don't know, but very, very weird, because he killed my chickens for fun in the daylight. And I feel really bad about that one, because I feel like I could have prevented it since we were out here. And I don't know why that, like, just us being out here did not scare him off. Even at 7:45, like, I would think that since he was in my barn at 6:45, at 7:45, then we would have just scared him off, because he would be like, okay, people are here, I better get out of here. But he didn't. That means from 6:45 to 7:45, he likely waited behind my hay over there until then the Kubota was gone. And then he went on a killing spree. So since my chickens have lived in the barn, and maybe this is where I messed up and I should have put them in the coop or done something different, but like I said, I have had these chickens in the barn for like 10 to 12 months now with no casualties, and more casualties of them being in that coop. So I didn't really necessarily do anything. I just said I was gonna watch this like a hawk. I was gonna watch the camera and make sure nothing happened. So that night, my friend who comes and feeds for us, she came out to the barn to feed, and the fox scared her and was actually behind the hay. And basically he just ran off from her, and she let me know that the fox was there. I asked her what he looked like, you know, to confirm it was a fox, and it indeed was a fox. So nothing happened though. Another day went by, and my chickens, the 3 chickens that I had left, lived on. So then we just still kept watching the camera, just being really diligent about watching the camera. So then now, the second night after the killing, my camera went off with a notification that something was in the barn. So immediately I clicked on it, and lo and behold, the fox had come on back in, walked through the back of the barn. So at that time, all the horses and everybody was fed, so we were not planning to come out to the barn again, but I insisted Mike runs out to the barn to scare off the fox, because at this point now, the weather was really cold and rainy, and I was fighting with feeling bad for the fox because he was taking shelter in my barn, because my friend saw him the night before and he didn't kill my chickens. He was just sleeping behind my hay. So I knew that he probably felt like he hit the jackpot in this barn, because he had a buffet of chickens and a, you know, nice and warm and cozy place to sleep out of the elements in my barn. But, you know, my chickens come first, because they're my animals. They live here, and it is my responsibility to make sure that they are kept safe. So when we saw that the fox was on the camera in the barn, the only thing that we really could do is make sure that my last 3 chickens didn't get killed. So Mike runs out to the barn, and the only thing that we had in the barn is a shovel. And basically Mike scared him off with a shovel as he threw it at him, chasing him out of the barn. So we ended up shutting the barn doors down so that the fox couldn't come in and kill my 3 chickens. We made sure that the chickens were inside of the barn, and they actually, when Mike came out here, they were roosting on these bars of the gate that shuts my barn. So the fox hadn't gotten them because they were roosting there. So then they were safe for another night. Again, maybe I should have decided that, okay, then I should put them in that coop. But I felt like I was being really diligent with the camera, and I thought it was just a fluke. Okay, like, he's gonna be done. He's gonna now know that there's people here that are definitely not scared of him since we just ran him off out of the barn. So again, I was naive, and that is not the case. He did not care that he was just scared off by technically 2 nights, because my friend, when she fed, but she didn't throw a shovel at him. I mean, she was just here and then he ran off. But felt like this night was going to be the night that he got scared off, because my kid physically ran after him and threw a shovel at him and then closed the barn doors down. So I was naive, like I said, and I thought that we were going to be in the clear because for so long we've been in the clear. So I didn't think that anything was going to happen, and I had just had 3 chickens left, and I felt like they were kind of getting the hang of it, of how to stay away from the fox. We come out to the barn the next morning after he scared off the fox, and we roll up these big barn doors like this. We roll up this barn door so it's open like normal. And a couple hours later, we come out to the barn and 2 chickens had been killed. And he didn't even eat them, he just killed them. So that was interesting, because now we have a fox that was just killing for fun again. And not only this time, it was just 2 chickens. So it's not like he just, from the last batch, ate 1 and then killed the rest. It's like, he didn't even eat them, he just killed them. Now I only have 1 chicken. Hey girl, sorry about your friends. We're gonna make you a whole new space and get you new friends. I feel so bad for her though, because I got her from a friend of mine who, she was kind of bonded with another naked neck chicken, and she was a brown naked neck chicken, and they had stayed together for the whole time that they lived here. So I'm a little bit bummed because they were always together, and that, well, not a little bit bummed, I'm bummed about the whole thing, but extra bummed because she was a survivor and her friend didn't survive with her. So now my lone chicken just hangs out. And she's smart, and she has a will to live, and it's kind of interesting to see. I mean, because I'm not going to say, like, chickens are not really that smart, to be honest. I mean, that's just the way it is. And she figured out how to basically outrun the fox and find higher ground and find a place where she wasn't going to get captured and killed. So pretty crazy. I've never really seen a chicken do that, but she's a survivor. She still stays in the barn because this is what she likes to do, and she has figured it out though that she is safe roosting up here with the horses, because the fox doesn't go near the horses and higher ground is better. So she camps out here in Blaze's stall, and she's pretty smart, but I feel so sad for her. So since that all happened, I've definitely decided that I'm not getting any more chickens for the time being. And I'm really bummed about it because I'm kind of in between a rock and a hard place, because now I have 1 chicken that has no friends, that sits out front of my house pretty much all day and just stays in the barn. But it's just 1 chicken. Chickens are supposed to be in a flock, and she doesn't have any friends now. But I'm not going to get any more chickens because obviously the fox is still out there, and there's a good chance that he can come eat more of my chickens. So I'm not going to do that to I'm not going to get any more chickens just so that they can be killed by a fox. So my journey with chickens doesn't end here though, because I love having chickens, and no, I'm not like the best at collecting eggs, and that's really not my favorite thing, but I just love having them. When I want fresh eggs, I have them, and I like the personalities of chickens, and I like all the different breeds and the colors, and I've done a lot of research on chickens. I've become really knowledgeable about pretty much all things chickens, from anything from like illnesses, their egg colors, their breeds. I just know a lot about chickens at this point, and I feel like over the years, like, I've done so much research on chickens, and I really like having chickens. I think they're an easy animal to care for, and they just make the farm a lot better. So my next plan before I get any more chickens is we are going to be building a run similar to the run that we had at our old property. And before everyone tells me, why didn't I just do this before, is because I have been putting this off. I know that eventually I was going to need a run if I wanted to, have chickens at this property, because we do have a big predator issue clearly. But I really like chickens to be free range. I don't really like chickens to necessarily be cooped up per se. So I've procrastinated this for a long time, and I didn't want to do this. But obviously, if I want to have chickens, it's not fair to continue to put them in an environment where there's a lot of predators around. So let me show you guys what we're gonna do with the chicken coop. So we have the chicken coop here still, which perfectly functions fine. My door to come out of the coop when we would let them out is over on this side. It is an automatic door, but it stopped working because I didn't want it to be automatic anymore. I wanted to control when the chickens would come out when they did stay in the coop. So this is the door. Obviously there's no chickens in there. This place is completely vacant of anything. We're gonna close up that side and we are going to put the door on this side, and then we are going to build a run that's gonna be 16 feet all the way this way. This tree right here is dead, and actually so is this one. And I don't know if we're gonna cut this one down yet, but we will cut this one down. We'll probably cut it down like I don't know, maybe like right there, so then I can put some stuff on it for the chickens to like play around on, maybe like some 2x4s so they can roost on them and such. But it'll be inside the run, and then the run will come out 16 feet. And it will be a roofed run so that the elements and stuff don't make it nasty, but this is where they're gonna be. And with a run, I'm definitely gonna need to keep my flock limited, because I just think that within runs, a lot of sickness and disease can really run rampant in a run. And once it gets stuck in the soil, like the ground, it's hard to get those illnesses out. And that often happened to us at the old house. And I had a big flock, so it was hard to manage. And once you get a disease in your flock, it can be sometimes hard to get rid of it without it taking out the whole flock. The run should be done technically next week. I will definitely be filming it for you guys so you can see how it turns out. But it's such a big bummer of what happened to my chickens, and I've never had like a loss like this within my livestock ever. So this one's a big one. We've lost chickens here and there to predators and stuff, but to wipe out like my whole flock and all in like a couple days is kind of crazy to me. And it's just a big bummer, and I really like my chickens and I didn't like what happened to them. So I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, and now I just need to put a run in. And that's part of the reason why I'm annoyed, because I like my chickens to be completely free range, and this kind of prohibits that. I will let them out here and there, like when I'm here and home and can watch them a little bit more. But yeah, I wanted to let you guys know what happened, and this is real life. When you own livestock, this is what happens, and unfortunately it happened to me. So anyways, make sure that you don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below so you don't miss when we build the run, get new chickens, start all of those things. We actually put some wood, there's all the wood over there, to start assembling our ramped up version of the goat's pen for them. So if you guys don't want to miss any videos like that, make sure that you subscribe to my channel down below, turn on those post notifications. All right, you guys, well, we love you, and we'll see you in the next one.